Just coming out of one of those weeks. What do they call them? Sprint weeks. That's the whole new business philosophy where you have these intermittent periods of time when you're steadily working away kind of at a leisurely pace, I suppose. And then every once in a while you have a business sprint where you have to work your ass off to get make some deadline and accomplish something. That's my week. This week was the sprint week. We were business wise, we did something a little bit different here. That I did something different here at Dotto Tech than I normally do, in that I was an affiliate partner in somebody else's course. I've determined this year as I move ahead that I'm not sure I want to create quite as many courses myself. And courses are an important part of our revenue stream here. So I have been looking for recommending the best courses that other people teach in spaces that I think my community is interested in, and then I'm adding value to that. And we're looking at trying that out as a business model this year. And this was the first example. This was the first, and we jumped right into the deep end of the pool because the course that we sold this week, that we promoted, it was one with Amy Porterfield. And the course was $1,500 US. It wasn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination. It was by 3 times, I think, the most expensive course that I've ever represented. So it was right into the deep end of the pool. Now, there's a lot of value there. I wouldn't be recommending it if I didn't believe in it, but it was a real learning experience for both myself and my team as we were a dedicated affiliate for the first time ever, really, to somebody else's program and learned a lot of lessons. And I think the lesson that I'm coming to terms with most is just how important trust is and how tenuous our relationship with our reputation online is. We had a few little negatives as we launched the course. Nothing big or nothing untoward, and nothing damaging, I think, permanently. But I learned some really important lessons about trust and about how we've built our community and about communication, about making sure that the communication paths are always in line. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're interested in conversation a little bit more about online marketing and trust, that's the topic for our vlog today. So stick around if you're interested in that, and if not, well, I'll see you next week. So here was the kind of, I'll give you the backstory and the building blocks. So as I mentioned, we decided that we were going to partner with Amy, and we reached out to her to work with her on delivering her course. Now, the reason that I chose Amy is I have profound respect for her. Her content has always been what I've considered to be absolute A-list content. I listen to her podcast all of the time. I'll put links below to her site and to her podcast. But she's been very influential in teaching me a lot of the techniques that have helped me business-wise as I've been on my journey of learning about becoming a content marketer and a social media marketer and an online personality. So because I've trusted her and learned from her, I was happy to partner with her because I think she does a better job of teaching, especially systems, marketing systems, than I do. I'm great at the technology side, but she's great at systems. So I thought this is a marriage made in heaven. She can teach her process stuff, and I can teach the technical side. I will bonus my community with the technical side. And the course was a course with a very focused outcome, teaching people how to deliver online courses, which much of our community is very interested in, and also how to deliver the marketing for those via webinar, which Amy is excellent at. Her marketing background, she worked with Tony Robbins for years. She really gets that entire process, and she's built a wonderful business for herself in that space. So it all fits, and it made so much sense in my brain. And everybody who I explain it to, it makes total sense too. Every member of my community who participated, it makes sense to. But what I didn't see coming was Amy's presentation style is slightly different than ours. She is much more in the, I don't know what the best way to put it, but her sales tactics on her webinar are more classic internet marketing. There's a formula that Amy follows in her webinar. Now, the webinar that we promoted, that we pushed this week, which was the launch webinar for our community, we enrolled a lot of people for, and it was a training webinar where Amy taught three things that lead to successful course development and webinar development delivery. And so the education component was excellent. There's no question about it. I thought that the content was very good, but it was also very formula. At the very end of it, you went through the classic social engineering thing of creating a value proposition with the price and then saying we're going to sell it for this much money, and then creating some sense of urgency by having a limited time offer. And so there's a certain, we've all been through those webinars, and we know that we are being manipulated to a certain extent through that. And it's something that I don't really feel comfortable doing myself. If you've ever taken on any of our sales webinars, we try and do a little bit of lip service to it, but we don't really push that much. But Amy is right in the deep end of that pool, and she does it very well. And I didn't think it was over salesy, but it was definitely formula. Well, the reaction of my community was really interesting. Many people were 100% okay with it. They bought the course. We had very good sales as far as that goes. But I got a lot of feedback from some others saying that it undermined the trust that they had for me, that they didn't expect me to be presenting my community in this particular environment. Now, this is a very small percentage, but anybody who has a community knows that they care what their community has to say, and the fact that anybody was feeling manipulated to a certain extent or sold to resonated loudly with me, and I had to take a good hard look at the legitimacy of their argument, of their complaint. And I reached out to many of them, spoke to quite a few of them. I dealt with things. We did another webinar following up, and I think where things kind of why they felt that way is they didn't understand the value proposition that I was bringing. And they didn't necessarily understand the entire package that we were offering. So it came down to communications. It came down to having total control over the communications. And I recognize that as soon as you bring somebody else into your community and allow them to present to your community, you lose control of the message. You lose some control of the message. And I don't know how we deal with that going ahead in the future, but it was a great wake-up call because, first of all, the fact that the community trusts me enough to let me know, that's one good aspect, but also how much it concerned me. Like, it really bothered me saying, oh, why are they thinking this, and what can we do about it? And it actually bothered Amy as well. She reached out to me and she said, was I too salesy for your audience? I sensed there was some pushback. And I reviewed the webinar. Actually, we did a replay of the webinar, and I felt, no, you weren't too salesy. You were pretty much where I expected it to be. You were as advertised as far as I was concerned. So the challenge is in setting expectations and also, maybe modifying the message slightly. But the challenge is, I think, more on my side than on your side. But at any rate, kind of going back to the lessons learned from this is my visceral reaction to people being upset and felt that they were being manipulated to a certain extent on my watch was pretty profound. It really put me off my game for a few days as I kind of stewed over it and tried to figure out exactly whether or not I was wrong or whether or not or what I could do to mitigate it in the future. And all of this is to come back to, I think your most valuable asset that you build online is your reputation. At the end of the day, our reputation is the most important aspect of our online toolkit. It's the thing that we have to guard most jealously. Nobody else will protect for us. And anytime you put forward something that you don't have control of the message, you put your reputation at risk. And we see people destroying their online reputation all the time by doing stupid things, etc. But it's something that I've always jealously guarded, and I've always felt, because of my years of media experience, that I was probably slightly inoculated to the dangers of undermining my own credibility or our credibility. Now, as I say, if you participated in the webinar, I'd love to hear your comments and how you felt about how the whole thing went. Overall, I'm thrilled with the relationship with Amy. I'm thrilled with the uptake of our community on the course. I'm looking forward to engaging with them through the course, and I'm planning on doing this again several times through the year with a couple of other partners, and again with Amy in the fall. She's planning on doing the course again in the fall. But now, next time I go in eyes wide open, and I know, and I will recognize more, and there might be some new ones coming as well, but I'll recognize hopefully the areas that I can do to improve the communication so that my community understands the value proposition that we're putting forward better, and so they feel, therefore, less manipulated, and they recognize why we are positioning these products the way we are. So that's it. It's all about trust today. It's all about our trust and how hard we work for it, and how easy it is to let that slip through your fingers. So it was. It wasn't really. I don't think we did a misstep, but we definitely learned a little bit of a lesson in the way that it all came together. Or at least I did, especially by just how sensitive I was to the comments as they came along. Far more sensitive than I am to normal levels of criticism. Speaking of which, would love to hear your comments, critical or positive. See them in the comments below. That's it. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.